Hi, everyone. Leslie M. Thornton, Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss. Today, we are blessed with the presence of Melynda Cassis. Melynda is a current client of the Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss program. She has also chosen to enroll herself in our Warrior Goddess Mastermind program and has been generous enough to offer her time and to share a little bit about her experience. So, Melynda, thank you for being here. It's so nice to see your face. And yeah, if you wouldn't mind maybe telling people what you do for a living and, because I think what's really important for people to get, I've talked to so many people recently, Melynda, who they've been embarrassed with the fact that this is still a conversation that they need to have, that, they've achieved high levels of success in other areas of their life. And it's like, why do I still have to deal with this food thing? Like, I should just have it figured out. It should be super simple.
Mhm.
And to me, it's just so important that we clear the shame. It's like the most successful people that I see career wise are the ones who need this the most and end up struggling with this. So yeah, if you wouldn't mind sharing your background and what brought you here.
Sure. First of all, thanks for asking me to be part of this journey because I think it's a journey that has served me well, and I hope that it can serve other people that are looking for this type of work to really up-level their life. Um, I have been in the technology industry for the past 36 years,
Wow.
and in different capacities. I would say I fit the model that you said, super successful. And yes, still dealing with the weight loss struggle, the ebbs and flows, the yo-yoing, just that classic all my life. I could probably tell you on one hand the amount of years that I didn't have to worry about weight versus that I've had to always have that white noise in my head about what I should be eating, what shouldn't I be eating, how do I exercise, what am I doing? And it just got really super tiring. And I've tried it, everything, like probably most people that are listening to this. And and it's not that we don't want it. I think the fact is we do want it, and that's why we haven't given up. So we're successful, and then we go back to where we were and we try something else and we're successful. So this last bout that I had and what brought me here was, again, had a great experience with one of the programs, lost 70 pounds, COVID hit, and I'm not blaming this on COVID, but it was super easy to get back, and I gained over half the weight back. So I just happened to have gone into my doctor's office and said, here I am 2 years later, feeling good, but, kind of embarrassed, and the shame that you said, I kind of said, well, outside of putting back, 35 pounds, I'm doing good. And my doctor, I'm very grateful for the support I get in my life. She was one who started talking to me about, it's not that I don't know how to lose weight, and that as a person that has kind of the empath, spiritual side of me, she said, your issue is really on the inside. You know how to lose weight, and you can do what we need you to do to lose weight, but that's not your answer. Your answer is at that core level, how do you connect to the earth? How do you connect to yourself? How do you, that's the work you need to do. And I looked at her and said, thank you. That's the medicine I need. It really just pointed me back to this path of self work that I needed to do. And
Wow.
so I left there and I was thinking, okay, I didn't have a plan. Just let that information kind of seep into me. And organically, it came out the next day when I was listening to a podcast, very unrelated to anything. And all of a sudden, I said to myself, I wonder if there's a podcast on weight loss. That thought came from nowhere. I was listening to a true crime podcast. And in the middle of this true crime podcast, I had the thought about, I wonder if there's a weight loss podcast. So I stopped what I was listening to and I, searched in my podcast. And there were several that came up. Um, Naturally, I gravitated to hypnosis for permanent weight loss. And I wasn't really sure what it was about. And I thought, I'm just going to listen. So I scrolled all the way to the bottom to get to episode 1. And there I found you, Leslie. And you started talking about the program. And all I could think was, oh my God, get out of my head. Like, you were saying everything honestly that I have been saying. And it was probably like 11:30 at night. And I thought, I'm going to text this code that you sent out, and I'm going to find out more about this. And so here I am, completed the 8-week program. I am now doing the mastermind program, and it could not be the most perfect place for me to be. And I'm already feeling the impact of this program, and I want to say it, to be honest, in the way, yes, I've lost a few pounds, but it's bigger than that. I've gained confidence and control, and I've let go of the feeling like a prisoner to food. I don't know how to say it otherwise. It's like I weigh less in my mind when it comes to the connection of food, and I've just gained a strength and understanding of myself that I didn't have before the program, which to me means more than what the scale says, to be honest with you. So that's how I've gotten here.
Absolutely fantastic. Uh, so many things that you shared that just I want to touch on. First of all, kudos to that doctor that you had.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that if there's something, we talked about in our podcast with Brooke Ritchie in the past about like the skinny state of mind. But what came to me as you were talking about that was how it's like this skinny, like it's like a heartless, soulless, like when all that we're after day is just to have this like skinny body or to lose weight or something like that. It's just like it's just like a skeleton to me. Like it's just like a skeleton that it's just, there's no words for it,
Right.
and it's like, and I'm curious that and that was me, right? So there was always this part of me growing up where I knew that I cared and valued health very much. I knew that it was not okay in my family and society to put on a bunch of weight at once. But there was a part of me that never really actually cared. And this is just me personally, but like what other people thought, like deep down, like weight loss was so surfacey to me. So and I'm a firm believer that when it's something that our authentic self truly and deeply cares about, right?
Yep.
And for somebody that may be having a perfectly fit body and like staying that way for the rest of their life. And if that's the case, great, right? But what I run into with our clients and with myself and my own journey over and over again is that they don't really authentically for themselves care about that. Like that whole thing of, let's cut the calories and let's, do this regimen and blah, blah, blah. Like maybe it was something they were passionate about in the past, but it's like now they're ready for something deeper. And
Mm-hmm.
it really sounds like that doctor sounds like she knew you kind of well to be like,
Oh,
Melynda, like you're richer than that,
mm,
right? Like
exactly.
you're such a rich person to be with. And it's just like and it's so interesting. It's like when we're out in the world and there's no shame about it because we all are facing our own demons inside of our brains. But it's like someone as rich as you, if I were to meet you out, I'd be like, wow, like that woman just feels like she's enveloping me in this beautiful, warm hug of like love and acceptance. And then when someone like you opens your mouth and actually is willing to share some of your not so great stuff or things you're still working on to say about like losing weight, like, I just can't lose weight. It's like, what? Like,
Yeah.
like Melynda, like
Yeah.
that spiritual being that just
Mm,
emanates love, like cares about something like that. Like she's richer than that.
mm,
Right. and no judgment, like, and if I continued having conversation and you were like, authentically, this is what I'm jazzed about, is like, let's cut the pounds and like, let's get on, whatever, in a bikini body, I'd be like, great, fantastic, and here she goes. And the other thing that I noticed is that when that is what we want, we're automatically just doing those actions to get that. But when we're beating something over and over again of like trying to lose weight year after year, the New Year's resolution, it's like then we got to start asking ourselves the question, do we really want
Mhm.
that? Really what this is about? So, but we can't see what we can't see. So that doctor obviously saw you and said, we got to go deeper and
Mhm.
find out like what's at the core of Melynda feeling that she's not whole and complete today.
Yep, exactly.
From that space, anything becomes possible.
Mhm.
So, wow, wow, wow. And then all of our clients, that really come in here, so many people, it's like the way that this podcast wound up, like just to think about, oh, I'm just going to search that and like,
Yep.
here it is. And like, I just really trust that all those stars aligned in that way. Perfect. So, how did you know that it was the right program for you? Was it a feeling? Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah, Leslie, I have what I'll call high intuition,
Mhm.
and I think all of us have a sense of intuition. Uh, when I listened to your story and when I listened to what you said, I it just lined up to me. It was very congruent. The tone, the body posturing, the message, it all said yes. It all said, yes, Melynda, this is worth checking out.
Mm,
Um, and then as I talked to people, it lined up as well. There's this authenticity about the people that you have on your team, Leslie. There's an authenticity that you feel like if you didn't have anybody on your side rooting for you, you've all of a sudden just tapped into this family of people who want nothing but happiness for you. And that happiness can be weight loss. That happiness can be, achieving self-love. That happiness can be something that you don't even see coming.
mhm,
Um, the one thing that I would say to anybody listening to this is step away from what I would call the microwave mentality, that anything worth doing and having in your life for a long time, you've got to do the work and it will stick. These programs that truly allow you to dip your weight and lose. I'm not, no judgment there. It serves a purpose. But if you're looking for something that you really want to sustain, that's what I loved about this program. It really was talking about the things that are resonating inside of you that you can just recycle and move it to a different path to allow you to look at things differently. And, I'm not at my weight loss, I want to be at a weight loss that I just feel lighter in life, meaning, there's some things that I just want to feel like I'm not burdened with the white noise in my head about what I look like and not listen to what someone's saying to me because I'm worried about what I think they're thinking of me. I want to unburden that kind of weight from my life. And that's what this program is doing. And for the first time, I really have taken in and said, gosh, Melynda, I'm happy with you right now. Like right now, whether this is your ideal weight or not, it is in this moment. And I've taken the burden with this program and the work that we're doing and what we get invited to listen to and discuss has shifted internally very quickly just how I perceive food and what was driving me to some pretty bad habits that I had. Uh, And now I'm just building off of this momentum. And this program introduces you to a support system from the coaches to the other members that allow you to show up and have conversations that you probably really always wanted to have, but you don't necessarily have people in your life that want to talk about this stuff for their own reasons. So now you get to be connected to people that this is the stuff that we really love to talk about, and be inspired, and then you inspire people. It's, if you're thinking about doing something for yourself, this, hypnosis for permanent weight loss is a great introduction to higher learning and a path to really get to be the best person you can be. Yes, there's work to be done, but it's work that will serve you well.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, I can refer to them as you were talking about, like, fat thoughts.
Yes.
I used to always say, like, I was never seriously overweight, but I always had the mind of a fat kid.
Yeah.
Right? And it's
Yeah.
just like all day long, and that's the thing where it's like weight doesn't matter. Like, some people will be hundreds of pounds and some people will not be a lot of weight at all. But one thing that everyone here has in common is that their thoughts are fat thoughts.
Yes.
And the thing is that when we're thinking fat thoughts, we can never be at peace. We can never be happy. We can never be aligned. We can never feel congruent. And so, step number one is to really, how can we make those fat thoughts into a clear stream of flow? And I know for myself, a lot of the reason that the fat thoughts were happening was, and I think this is what you're pointing to, is because I never truly felt connected with any other human beings, because what they were talking about felt so surfacey.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wanted to have those deep, intimate conversations, and then when I'd bring them up to the family, it was met with a lot of resistance. And, Leslie, why do we always have to go there? Or, these types of things. Not wrong or bad that they didn't want to talk about it, but it was like my soul needed that. Like, it was
Mm-hmm.
just that was the real craving. And I really believe that one of the cures of addiction, or any kinds of, fat thoughts like this, if you will, is that intimacy and that connection and feeling like I'm accepted and I'm loved and I can be understood and I can say the things that I'm too scared to say, out there, and people won't think that it's wrong or bad or weird. It's just they'll be like, all they'll be thinking the same thoughts, or they have life experience in that realm as well. And then all of a sudden when you have those conversations, it's like, I don't really care about food half as much.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
cravings have gone down significantly because we were really looking for that outlet to express.
Yeah. And it's, and to that point, I think that where you feel like you're an island and you're the only one that's thinking this stuff, and all of a sudden you see these other powerful people talking about that, it validates that, oh my gosh, there's resources. I'm not alone.
Hmm. 100%. If I had a nickel for however many clients said the most healing part is realizing that I'm not alone. I was just speaking to a woman earlier today, and that was how she felt. Like, oh, you mean I'm not, just the only one thinking this way? It's like, absolutely not. Like,
Yeah.
such a large percentage of society is thinking that way, but we don't talk about it. So it's just so necessary and vital.
Yep.
And yeah. And so what has been, because we use the word spiritual, and I know for some people that's something that they know that they want or already are, or maybe something that they've never delved into. But how would you kind of paint the picture for somebody around how this is a spiritual path versus maybe it's just getting to know yourself path, and maybe that's one and the same, but how would you describe that?
Um, I think so much of it, I think we as people are tuned into ourselves. Ultimately, we may not share it with other people, but when you look in the mirror, can you tell yourself you're being and doing the best you can do for yourself? And I think that's where I got to, was we can bluff our way in front of people and show them what we think they want. But when it's quiet and you're there with yourself, you're the one that's going to know if you're really showing up in who you are. So I think for me, and this will guide me as I am challenged in the mastermind program, as I was challenged in the 8-week program, was asking myself at the end of the day, did I do what I thought was best for me to get to that level? Some days I killed it, right? Some days I killed it. Other days I was like, maybe I didn't kill it, but guess what? I was still moving in that direction. So I think for me to tell people, it's really in the most quietest mind that you have when you're there and no one else is talking to you and you're with your thoughts. What are those thoughts telling you? What are those thoughts telling you that you are actually listening to versus pushing them down because it's just too hard or you just don't know where to go? If you keep seeing those thoughts surfacing and you're deflecting or just feeling like overwhelmed by not knowing where to go for help, to me that says, listen, there's something your body is telling you that you need to go and at least explore. If not commit, at least explore. And that's the piece that I would say is that spiritual or that self piece is, again, in your quiet state of mind, what comes up that you're not even thinking about, Have you ever caught yourself going, oh my God, where did that thought come from? Pay attention. Pay attention to those things. And that's the spiritual piece, Leslie, that I'm kind of talking about
Yes, I
is
love
is
what you're
that
saying.
is that quiet part.
Absolutely. And for those people who are like, I don't know what that quiet part is, because part of being here is realizing that sometimes we're so afraid to listen to that part, or it's so
Mm,
uncomfortable to hear that part because we deep down know that something is misaligned, right?
mhm.
That's when the food and the alcohol can come in, because we're
Yes.
numbing away. It's like, oh, as or the work, right? Like, oh, let me
Mhm.
just keep my head down, I'll work all day. But then as soon as like the work is done, it's like your body is just in kind of frantic mode and it's like quick, numb out, right?
Yes.
So this is the part. So where Melynda is saying, what is that voice saying? Like for some of you, it may be too scary to even listen to those thoughts. All you know is that you're binging and how painful that can feel,
Yep.
or that you're drinking too much wine and what that leads to, right? But that is the space that the thoughts are happening. And when we do actually allow you to feel safe enough to feel those feelings when the stress is happening or the stress eating is happening, right? Like then that's when you can get presence of that voice. And instead of being afraid of it, you realize like, oh, it's this cute little part of me that just wants a little love and attention. Or
Yeah.
maybe we do need to look at our relationship, or maybe we do need to look at our career, or maybe we do need to look at, just our behaviors with food and see what comes out of that.
Mhm.
So I love absolutely everything that you're saying. I was listening to something earlier in my neurolinguistic training that I'm doing of how I can't remember how many. It's something like 6 million, you know, I don't know the gigabytes, but it's not really that, but of um, thoughts and information is coming at our brains at one time. And they gave us the imagery of saying it was like if you imagine 120 toothpicks, right? Like, which is, say a pack of toothpicks. It's like we could all hold the pack of toothpicks in one hand. Well, this is how much 120 is what our mind can actually take in at one time,
Mhm.
right? And like, but out of 6 million or 6 billion that's actually coming at it, right? And the way that we actually view the world. So with weight loss, it's like, whatever way you grew up, whatever society you grew up in, like these are the toothpicks that you hold. And these are the, out of all those millions or billions of data coming at you, right? Like these are the ones that actually stick because it is aligned with the water that you grew up in, right? With the belief
Mhm.
system that you grew up in. And so in order for us to start picking up on this other 6 million or billion toothpicks that we can't possibly hold, we need to actually examine what our batch of toothpicks looks like.
Right.
right? And decide like, oh, maybe this one doesn't work for me anymore. Maybe that toothpick isn't really what I want. Maybe this isn't really what I want, to make space for then all of this other toothpick type
Yes.
come in and being the ones that you hold. And so all of us, based on the environment that we grew up in, our family, everything like that, we're all carrying these toothpicks. But the pain and suffering comes in is when you're not consciously choosing the toothpicks,
Right. Yeah.
right? So it's like, these are mom's toothpicks, these are dad's toothpicks, right? But like, I'm experiencing pain and suffering, which could be the result of all of the unnecessary eating or numbing or whatever, right? Because I haven't chosen them. So big opportunity to really look underneath, the covers, and realize maybe it's not so scary there, and start to pick your toothpicks.
Yep. I love that. I love that
Mhm.
visualization.
Absolutely. And,
Yeah.
just myself waking up today, and every day, like, there was so many before to be at the place where I'm at today of total freedom around food, to absolutely be 100% happy and aligned with everything that's happening, not happening in my life. Like, of course, there's always things that
Yeah.
I know where my awareness is of to work on, and consciously working on that. But there's no toothpick in my but the process of taking out the toothpicks that weren't mine and replacing them back and being aware, whatever, right? It wasn't easy. It wasn't painful. It wasn't not without pain, but the alternative of not actually doing that means that I don't get to live this aligned life today, which would always be that path of constantly dieting.
Yep.
But yeah, I had to work on my relationship realm, because I realized like every relationship that I was attracting was completely like not going the way that I wanted it to go. So it's like,
Mhm.
I was just speaking to a woman last night, and she's amazing, smart, bright, just amazing woman, and had these abusive relationships. And I said, well, what was your parents' relationship like? She's like, well, my dad had no job, and my mom had to embezzle money just to keep our family afloat. And so we subconsciously are trying to get our needs met that we didn't get met as children, and so we keep attracting these things, not
Yeah.
anybody's fault.
Right.
Right? But the reason, this woman who's so bright and smart, she's like, something's got to change, because
Yep.
at this point, I just can't even trust myself to go out there and date, because every person that ends up in my space, it's like, these are the signs, right? Same thing with career, same thing with everything. And once all those toothpicks become something you're a little proud of, maybe with the little green and red little tassels on top and in a
Right.
perfect little bow, right? Then it's just like, wow, everything can be perfect,
Right.
and food is not, something that carries that much weight anymore.
Yep.
So,
100%.
and I'm curious, like, how how did you I know that you did work before you did this program on yourself,
Right.
right? So, what was your experience of the pain of not having the right toothpicks in at different times in your life?
Sure. And I think that analogy when you were saying, this worked at this time in my life.
Yes.
And sometimes you think, I was just having this epiphany. Sometimes you think, okay, I logically, intellectually know this doesn't work for me anymore. And you think it's as simple as saying, this doesn't work for me anymore. And you just kind of toss it. But what happens is you've got these patterns and these things that have been kind of burned in your soul. I don't know how to say it. Even though intellectually, your body still has these memories, right? And I think that was the piece that I finally got to was um, intellectually, I'm pretty smart about me,
Yes.
but emotionally, I'm getting the help that I need to tap in. And instead of being able to talk about myself in a third person, because I could talk all day long about the trials and tribulations that I've experienced in my life. But when this work connects you and you feel it, something that happened 50 years ago, 20 years ago, a week ago that you didn't really feel, that's the power. And I would say this for people that are looking at something for the first time, or maybe you're like me and you've done this work before. My suggestion, and this has helped me greatly, you're going to hear things that you've heard. you're gonna you're gonna hear stuff and you think, oh, I already know that. Why should I invest in this? Oh, I get that. And you know what? You do know. But guess what? You're a different person than you were 10 years ago when you heard that same thing. So when you hear that same message, it's going to be it's going to be absorbed in you in a different way because you're a different person and you're going to go, "Oh my god, I did not get the same power out of that statement 10 years ago that I'm feeling now." And I think that's what I would tell people that have been on this journey before. Open your mind up to the fact that that same statement that was said is going to be received differently because you're a different you and you're in a place that you can, I believe you're going to be able to hear it differently in the way that you need to hear it today, not the way you heard it 10 years ago or whatever that period in your life was. And for those that have never done this journey, I say be ready for the ride of your life. um, it is exciting and it is a lot of work, but I'll tell you, if you're really serious about wanting to really change who you are, Leslie and her team will help you tap into the authentic good you and give yourself the time to do the work and trust. Honestly, trust is super key.
Mm,
And the process, if you step out of the way of the process and show up and do the work, by God, you're going to be changed in all the right ways. So, that's kind of how I would couch, this work and how to approach it if you're new or coming back to the work.
absolutely. Yeah, that self-trust piece is huge. If anything that dieting has taught us is that we can't trust ourselves to follow a good way of eating without
Mhm,
a perfect structured plan.
mhm,
And it's like the truth is that those plans have helped you to kind of know, up to this point, what has been like, what foods make you feel good, what's like a normal portion, or whatever. But
yep,
until you actually cross that barrier into, I can trust myself to only like and trust my body that I only want to have that amount anyway. Like,
right,
you can end up, without even trying, eating exactly the way the periodic table suggests, but out
yep,
of feeling and
yes,
knowing that and trusting that that's
yep,
that's what makes me feel good. And then
yep,
that's just
it,
what happens. It's like,
yep,
wow, wow.
yep,
So thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I really have gotten present to how much it's a value shift, right? Of maybe, like I was saying, weight loss in the past was like a value of yours, but then for myself and what I see for so many people is that when we aren't able to stay consistent or motivated to go back to that, Weight Watchers or whatever worked in the past for us,
mhm,
it's because you're no longer aligned with that. Like Melinda's saying, you're not the same you,
right,
right? You've gone through all these things, you've grown so much. So you're right. Everything that you hear today, you might have already known it, but apply it to today
mhm,
and be open to how that thought's going to happen today, and it's going to be a whole different thing. So, when my I stopped being able to stop follow that super strict food program, and it was like because I no longer resonated with my being an addict, because I saw that somebody else who had extreme bulimia in the past and couldn't control herself had complete peace and freedom around food. So it was like,
mhm,
well, I was not even as severe as doing bulimia kind of stuff, and she was able to get out of it, so I must be able to too. So once that belief was gone that I was an addict, of course I'm not going to follow this thing, because it's like,
right,
well, then you're telling me that I should be able to trust myself.
mhm,
So then it's like, okay, so if we know that we had this shift, right? A couple people I've been speaking to lately have been saying how they knew it was time to change because they snapped at their husband when he asked to buy a new Peloton bike. And, normally she'd be like, I don't care, like, whatever, sure. But she weighed herself that morning and was not happy with the number that she saw. And all day long, she's carrying this stress and panic and upset with herself. And so she flips out on her husband. And that was the moment that she realized, like, I got to make a change. This weight thing is way bigger than, what I think that it is. Right. So, whatever it is for someone who now is ready to receive the message of hypnosis for permanent weight loss,
yep,
it's like, get present. So like, what was that moment? Like something is out of alignment if you can't stick with your diet, right?
Yep.
Something is out of alignment if hypnosis is something that's speaking to you, because it's like, you can't do another diet again. You need to relax.
Yeah.
You need to learn how to let all of these panic thoughts, go away, and still know that you value and care about your health, and be willing to do whatever it takes to get to where Melynda and I are speaking about today, of having the balance happening automatically. No, we're not skinny minis,
Right.
and we have the skinny mind and a body that is staying at least sanely,
Yeah.
good, and we feel good about ourselves. So
Yep.
then everything is aligned, and then whenever we're going out into the world, we feel confident, right? We feel radiant, and we're continuing to get present to what are the new thoughts today that might be getting in the way.
Hmm.
Let's deal with those, and trusting that by just making that the new work, that the new process, that our body will continue to respond and get healthier and healthier in whatever way or pace that looks like. So
Yep.
Melinda, thank you so much. What an
Yes.
amazing conversation. Thank you for sharing. So, yeah, if there's one final message you'd like to give our listeners today, what might that be?
Uh, keep this priority in front of you. Uh, be gentle with yourself. Don't be so judgmental on yourself.
Yes.
Just open yourself up to a different way of approaching weight loss, and and jump in. Seriously, jump in.
Oh, it's beautiful. Thank you so much. Right out of Melinda's mouth, participants of Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss, we love having you here. Thank you for your time again. And you guys will all hear that same prompt Melinda heard at 11:30 p.m. right after this. So you can go ahead and text the word hypnosis to 72727, and you'll have an opportunity to book a call with us there. Melinda, thank you. Thank you so much again. Have
Thanks,
a beautiful
Leslie.
rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye.